On a cold December night in Vienna, Austria in 1881, a beacon of culture and entertainment was transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. The Ringtheater, once a symbol of Vienna's vibrant art scene, became the epicenter of one of the most devastating fires in theater history. Flames swiftly engulfed the grand structure that housed a full crowd, leading to panicked theatergoers being trapped and the loss of hundreds of lives. Named after the road on which it stood, Schottenring, the Ringtheater was a popular venue for opera, theater, and variety performances. It was a grand structure, boasting a seating capacity of approximately 1,700 people. The theater had a small footprint, but it was built high to maximize occupancy. On the evening of December 8, 1881, the theater was packed, with an audience eager to see Le Conte d'Hoffmann, an opera by Jacques Offenbach. The opera was on its second evening and had been proving quite popular with patrons. Theatergoers had been filing into the building. As was typical for the time, seating in the balconies filled up first, with higher class patrons sitting in the front row waiting until it was nearer to start time to take their seats. Just as the audience was getting settled in, right before the show's 7 p.m. start time, a fire broke out backstage. The flames spread rapidly. Stagehands attempted to extinguish the fire, but it spread quickly to the fly system, scenery flats, and backdrops, which were made of wood and highly flammable canvas. Within minutes, the entire backstage area was engulfed in flames. The audience, initially unaware of the fire, descended into panic as smoke filled the auditorium. They wasted no time in trying to make their escape upon seeing the billowing smoke. Unfortunately, safety had not been prioritized in the theater's design, a fact which soon became clear as visitors to the theater became trapped and conditions further spun out of control. Emergency exits were inadequately marked, offering no clear path or beacons of hope for the panic-stricken crowd. The main entrance, to which most of the occupants initially fled, only opened inward, so as the panicked patrons ran to the exit, they were unable to pull the doors open due to the weight of the crowd pushing into them. To make matters worse, the panic also extended to the theater staff. Instead of controlling the situation and leading a coordinated effort to escape, they only exacerbated the situation. In the chaos, fire procedures were completely ignored. The theater's iron fire curtain wasn't used, which, if deployed, could have prevented the fire from spreading into the front and given the occupants much more time to exit the building in a calm manner before panic set in. Despite being equipped with a telegraph system, it was not used to summon help. Fearing the theater's gas-powered lights posed an explosion hazard, which could have significantly worsened the situation, they were shut off, plunging the theater into complete darkness as the nearly 2,000 occupants made their desperate dash for the exits. And dark it would remain, as the theater's emergency lights were not functional. The oil lamps, which were to be used in case of emergencies such as this, were only filled during mandatory inspections to show compliance with legal fire safety requirements, but the oil was not kept in the lamps otherwise, rendering them entirely useless. Patrons were trampled as the terrified crowds charged for the doors. Some occupants, seeing no other way out of the dire circumstances, leapt from the upper floors down to the ground outside. The fire department was able to get on scene fairly quickly and aid in the rescue, but the situation was made very difficult by the structure's tall and narrow design and the inward opening doors, against which droves of people attempting to escape were pushing closed. The rescuers, however, still managed to save many lives despite these additional challenges. They set up ladders to rescue individuals from the building and safety nets onto which many jumped to safety. In the aftermath of the fire, the city authorities launched an investigation into the cause. The theater's operator, Franz von Jauna, was initially blamed for the disaster and sentenced to 3 years in prison. However, his sentence was later overturned on appeal, with him only spending a few weeks in jail. Ultimately, no one was held legally responsible for the accident. The true cause of the fire is a source of conjecture and has never been formally determined. However, a common belief is that it was caused by a gas spotlight left on after dress rehearsal. In response to the tragedy, several new safety regulations were implemented. Future theaters were required to have multiple clearly marked exits, and the use of flammable materials in construction was restricted. The disaster also hastened the development and adoption of electric lighting in theaters, which was safer than gas lighting and wouldn't create the same tragic circumstances of panicking in the pitch-black darkness as was the case in Ringtheater. The use of fire safety curtains were made mandatory, and theater props had to be made in such a way to be fire-resistant. Larger theaters were required to employ security personnel to oversee evacuation in case of emergency, a rule that still stands in Vienna today. After the fire, the Ringtheater was destroyed beyond saving. Emperor of Austria Franz Joseph had an apartment building constructed on the site and donated the profits from it to charities. Famed psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, who was actually supposed to attend the Ringtheater on the evening of the fire, was one of the first occupants of the apartment building. Today, the site of the Ringtheater is occupied by the police headquarters of Vienna, but a memorial plaque reminds passersby of the tragic events that took place there. The Ringtheater fire remains one of the deadliest theater fires in history, a sobering reminder of the importance of fire safety in public places. The resulting loss of life in the Ringtheater fire was catastrophic. The number of casualties is not known for certain, but at least 384 people died, with a death toll of potentially hundreds more. The victims mostly perished from burns or suffocation due to the smoke. Many bodies were so badly burned that they could not be identified. The changes in fire safety regulations following this disaster, not only in Vienna but across Europe, ultimately made theaters and other public spaces safer. Sadly, however, the issue would persist for quite some time, as critical inventions like the panic bar door would not be invented until much later. In fact, it would take more than 20 years and the deadliest theater fire in history to compel more significant action to be taken. To see how the tragic disaster that sparked this change unfolded, watch my video on the Iroquois theater fire, which provides a detailed account of how greed, hubris, and a complete disregard for safety led to the death of hundreds of innocent people. Thanks for watching. Until next time.